All right, so today we're going to dive into something I think you'll find pretty interesting. Those subtle signs a woman might be into you, even if she's trying hard not to show it.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be using an article called 12 Signs a Woman Likes You, but is Trying Not to Show It.
Okay.
Now, obviously, one article can't cover every situation,
Right.
but it's a great jumping off point for this deep dive.
For sure. For sure.
And, hey, listener, maybe you're trying to figure someone out right now,
Yeah.
or just want to be more aware of these dynamics. Either way, let's break down these 12 signs.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, the first sign the article talks about is play fighting or teasing. I remember back in high school, the guys who could pull this off always seemed to get a ton of attention.
Yeah.
But why is that?
Well, the article suggests that for women, especially those who grew up with brothers, play fighting can be like a way to flirt and get your attention without being super direct. It kind of taps into a more playful, almost primal dynamic.
So it's like they're creating a connection through friendly competition.
Exactly. And it's important to remember the article makes this distinction between playful teasing and straight up disrespect.
Yeah.
The article really emphasizes private teasing versus public humiliation.
So it's like an inside joke, a way of creating a unique bond between the two of you.
You get it. It's all about building that intimacy and shared humor.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the second sign the article talks about women being curious about your dating life?
Right. You might notice she's asking like seemingly random questions or bringing up, unrelated topics just to keep the conversation going, or even straight up asking about your last girlfriend.
Yeah.
The key takeaway here is she wouldn't really care unless she was at least a little interested herself.
That's true. It's like she's trying to gauge your availability without making it too obvious.
Exactly.
I've definitely seen this before. I was at the gym once, and this woman just started talking about cycling completely out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
And it felt like she was either trying to find common ground or just, keep me talking.
It's a classic way to test the waters. And speaking of testing the waters, sign number 3 is all about proximity. Always stays close.
Oh, this was interesting. The article talks about this being something you see with a lot of feminine women who might be afraid of rejection. But what do they mean by feminine women in this context?
Well, I think they're referring to women who might embody more traditional feminine traits, like being less assertive or direct when it comes to expressing romantic interest.
Okay.
They might be more inclined to create opportunities for a man to approach rather than making the first move themselves.
So instead of walking right up to you, she might just happen to be nearby a lot.
Exactly. For example, she might choose to sit near you at a crowded coffee shop, even if there are other tables available.
Yeah.
It's about subtly closing the distance and, making it easier for you to strike up a conversation.
That makes sense. I remember this one time I was sitting by myself at a coffee shop, and this woman I'd seen there a few times came in, and instead of sitting at any of the empty tables, she chose the one right next to me.
Wow.
At the time, I didn't think much of it, but maybe she was trying to send a signal.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And, this idea of proximity actually ties into this psychological principle called the proximity principle,
Oh, really?
which suggests that the more we're exposed to someone or something, the more likely we are to develop, positive feelings toward it. So by consistently placing herself in your orbit, she's subconsciously increasing her chances of you liking her.
Wow. That's a really fascinating insight. So it's not just about making yourself available. It's like taking advantage of a psychological phenomenon to increase her chances.
Right.
Okay, on. Sign number 4, initiates eye contact, but can't hold it.
Okay.
I've totally experienced this one.
Yeah.
I was browsing at a bookstore, and this woman kept glancing my way. But every time our eyes met, she'd quickly look away.
Like a little spark and then poof, gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't be fooled. She's doing that on purpose.
Really?
The article says this is common for those feminine women who are interested but hesitant to be direct. It's their way of saying, hey, I see you and I'm curious.
So she's encouraging the guy to make a move.
Right. It's a subtle invitation to approach her.
Okay, this next one is particularly interesting. Tries to get you alone indirectly.
Huh.
I actually learned this one firsthand from a woman I dated.
Oh, really?
She was a master at it. We'd be at a party, and she'd casually suggest checking out the garden. Or grabbing a drink from the kitchen. Anything to get us away from the crowd.
Yeah.
At the time, I just thought she was being spontaneous.
Right.
But looking back, I realized she was strategically creating those moments for us to connect on a deeper level.
It's the subtle art of suggestion. Instead of coming out and saying, hey, I want to be alone with you, she's creating a natural progression towards a more private, setting.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a comfortable and gradual escalation of intimacy.
Okay, so those are the first 5 signs. Listener, have you noticed any of these in your own life?
Yeah, think about it.
Think about it while we move on to the rest of the list.
Yeah.
This is where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump back into these subtle hints that a woman might be interested even if she's trying to play it cool.
Okay, sign number 6 is one that I think a lot of guys will relate to. She laughs at your jokes, even the bad ones.
Yeah.
We all know humor can be a really powerful way to connect with someone.
Yeah.
But is there something more to it when a woman seems to find you extra funny?
Absolutely. The article points out that laughter, especially when it seems a little overenthusiastic for the joke, can be her way of showing appreciation and trying to make you feel good.
So it's not just about the joke itself, it's about the feeling she's trying to create.
Exactly. It's about creating those positive emotions that come with shared laughter. It's a way to build rapport, a sense of connection, through humor.
So it's like she's saying, I enjoy your company and I find you entertaining without actually having to say it.
Right. And it can be a way to subtly, boost your confidence, encourage you to keep the interaction going.
Okay, interesting. And then sign number 7 goes beyond just, fleeting moments and into something a bit deeper. She remembers details about, those little things you've shared about yourself?
Yeah.
It always feels good when someone remembers something you've told them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like it shows they were really listening.
Absolutely. The article highlights this as a clear sign that she's paying attention and that she values, what you have to say. She's interested in getting to know the real you.
And it's not just remembering your birthday or something obvious, right?
Right.
It's the smaller, more nuanced details that really make an impact.
Absolutely. Maybe she remembers a story you told about your childhood or that you're training for a marathon. These little things show she's not just passively listening.
Right.
But actively, trying to build a mental picture of who you are.
It's like she's creating space for you in her mind. That's really cool.
Mm.
All right, this next one's interesting. She acts nervous or awkward around.
Oh,
Isn't nervousness usually a sign of disinterest?
Not necessarily. The article suggests it could actually mean that she's very interested.
Oh, really?
Think about it. When you're really attracted to someone, it can trigger like a whole rush of emotions.
Yeah.
You might feel self-conscious, worried about making a good impression, or even afraid of rejection,
So those butterflies in your stomach could actually be a good sign.
Exactly. And you'll notice that this nervousness will be very specific to, her interactions with you.
Yeah.
Maybe she blushes or fidgets or has trouble maintaining eye contact. It's like she's trying to keep her cool, but her true feelings are shining through.
It's kind of endearing in a way. It shows vulnerability and authenticity. All right, sign number 9. She loves his compliments.
Compliments can be tricky, but when a woman goes out of her way to compliment you, it's generally a positive sign, wouldn't you say? Absolutely, especially when the compliments are specific and genuine.
Okay.
It shows she's noticing and appreciating those things that make you unique.
So it's not just, you look nice today.
Right.
But maybe that shirt really brings out the color of your eyes.
Yeah.
Or you have a great laugh.
Yeah.
Things that show she's actually paying attention.
Exactly. And, those compliments could be about anything. Your sense of humor, your intelligence, your work ethic, anything that she genuinely admires, It's a way of expressing her attraction and making you feel good.
Listener, now that we're talking about this, think back to the compliments you've received. Were they generic or were they specific?
Yeah.
Did they make you feel seen?
Yeah.
It's amazing how much these little gestures can reveal.
It's all about those subtle signals. Now, have you ever noticed how when you're really connecting with someone, you start kind of mirroring their body language?
You mean like unconsciously copying their posture or their hand gestures?
Exactly. It's called mirroring, and it's a subconscious way of, building rapport.
Sign number 10 is all about this. She's mirroring your behavior.
So if she's subtly mirroring my movements, it means she's feeling a connection.
It could be a sign. It's like she's trying to create that sense of harmony and synchronicity between the two of you. Right. Like a nonverbal dance, that deepens the connection.
Wow, that's pretty deep. It's like saying, I'm on the same wavelength as you without actually saying it.
Exactly. It can be a powerful indicator of attraction.
Yeah.
A desire to be in sync both physically and emotionally. Okay? Ready for sign number 11.
Bring it on.
This one's a classic. She finds excuses to touch. I want to be clear. We're talking about those light, seemingly accidental touches, nothing inappropriate.
Right, like a light touch on the arm when she's making a point.
Yeah.
Or brushing up against you as she walks by, little things like that.
Exactly. Touch, even in its most subtle forms, can create a sense of intimacy and connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's her way of kind of testing the waters, seeing how you respond to her physical presence. And if you respond positively, it could encourage her to continue those subtle forms of physical intimacy.
Right.
It's fascinating how much communication happens outside of actual words.
Absolutely. And our final sign actually focuses on actions rather than words. She goes out of her way to help you.
Okay.
Now, we all have friends who are helpful,
Yeah.
but when a woman consistently goes above and beyond, it might signal something more.
So it's not just, lending a hand with the dishes,
Right.
but maybe offering to proofread your work or helping you move.
Exactly. Those bigger, more time-consuming gestures.
Yeah.
It shows she cares about your well-being and she wants to make your life easier.
Wow.
These acts of service can really speak volumes about her feelings.
It's like she's investing her time and energy into you, which
Yeah.
is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are all 12 signs.
Wow.
Listeners, we head into the final part of this deep dive. Think about this.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on the receiving end of any of these signs? How did you interpret them at the time? So we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring those 12 subtle signs a woman might be interested in you, even if she's trying not to show it.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating discussion.
It really makes you think about all those different ways we communicate without even realizing it.
Right.
But, as we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that these signs, they're not foolproof.
Oh, for sure.
Every woman is unique.
Exactly.
And there's no one-size-fits-all approach to, deciphering her intentions. These signs are meant to be more of a starting point.
Right, a framework.
Yeah, a framework, a way to better understand those subtle dynamics. So it's more about just being aware of these possibilities and paying attention to how a woman treats you differently compared to others.
Absolutely. It's about looking at the bigger picture and seeing if there's a pattern of behavior that, suggests a deeper interest.
And even if you are picking up on some of these signs, the best way to know for sure is to have open and honest communication. Don't be afraid to, reciprocate those signals. Engage in conversation. See where things lead.
That's great advice. And remember, even if a woman isn't sending these signals, it doesn't mean you can't still approach her and strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
The worst that can happen is she's not interested, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Projection is a part of life.
Right.
It's nothing to be afraid of.
Well said. Listener, this deep dive has really made me think about my own experiences.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered any of these signs yourself? And how did you respond? I think it's so fascinating how these seemingly small gestures can actually reveal so much about what's going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that human interaction is incredibly complex and nuanced. We've only just, scratched the surface today.
Right.
There's always more to learn and explore.
Absolutely. So, listener, as you go about your day, keep these signs in mind, but also challenge yourself to go beyond this list.
Yeah.
What other subtle ways have you noticed women communicating their interest? What have you observed in your own life? The world of human connection is endlessly fascinating. And the more we understand these dynamics, the more enriching our relationships can be.
Well said. Keep exploring those connections, and remember, communication is key.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.